I'm Shane, obviously from the UK. I like to tell people I'm in my late 20s because I'm 35. So if anyone asks, I'm in my late 20s. But I've been doing content on and off, and as I say, I like to be dramatic, so I do like to quit.
Dang it. Today, I'm joined by 3088 Gaming, or otherwise known as Shane. He's a streamer and content creator who used to be in Marvel Strike Force, left it, and has now come back. And I'm going to ask him all about that because I'm very curious to find out. Shane, how are you doing, my friend?
Yeah, I'm doing good, mate. I'm doing good. Just finished a 2 and a bit hour stream, so back to back jumping in here with you. So the grind never stops, I think is what people say. But good to be here, mate. Good to be here. I like what you do. I like what you see, and yeah, happy to be on.
Yeah, I love the costume, by the way. I wasn't going to go with the Santa hat, but then you told me you were going to come in full dress, and I was like, okay, I'll just keep the Santa hat and see how this goes.
It's a running theme we've got over on there. This is one of the more tame outfits, costumes, whatever you want to call it, that we've got. We have a full, we call it an Axl Rose outfit that I'm looking at the moment, with tattoo sleeves and or the regalia that comes with it. So yeah, we do have a few, and it seems to be growing at the moment, almost weekly. So this is, as I say, one of the tamer ones.
Yeah. So somebody was saying that you had to eat some lemons today. What's that all about?
I think so. I always say I'm a little bit different in my stream where I say to everybody, keep your money. I don't want it. Keep it
Mm-hmm.
for yourself at Christmas. And then Ceci decided to gift some subs
Right.
on the back of it. So I guess the reverse psychology, which wasn't meant to happen, happened today. But yeah, I've always kind of run with with that notion that if you really want to, fine, but it's not something that's expected in my corner of the internet, I guess.
Oh, so if I were to show up in your stream and gift out some subs, then you punish yourself for it? Is that it? I get to.
Well, it depends if Twitch TOS is watching. If Twitch TOS is watching, nothing happens on my stream. If Twitch TOS isn't watching, then some alcohol is consumed from the bottle
Mm-hmm.
as a thank you.
Oh.
Nothing to do with the subs, might add, if anyone from Twitch is watching.
You showed up in the Envoy server a little while ago, and I was like, who the heck is this guy? Lori's just pulling him out of the woodwork these days. Had no idea, never heard of you before, but it turns out you were in the Envoy server before me a long time ago. So you played Marvel Strike Force, left, and then came back. What brought you to Marvel Strike Force in the first place?
I was looking for a game to play, if I'm being deadly honest with you. I've always been a gamer, and I've always been in mobile games. Strangely enough, I was playing WWE Supercard at the time,
Mm-hmm.
which is absolutely nothing really like this game, but there's I guess the gotcha elements of it where the seasons reset and you get better cards and you push up. I had enough of that one, came back, had enough of that game, should I say, and just needed to fill that time slash void. And my partner at the time said, "What about this game?" And she was playing it and really enjoying it, and it met a lot of the requirements I have in a game. I guess monotony is probably one of the things that drives me to a lot of games.
Mm-hmm.
And I picked it up and I played it for probably 18 months. So I've quit twice. So I'm quite dramatic that I don't just want to quit once. I go and do it a second time. Um, but yeah, so I've quit twice, and I played it then. Got into I pretty much go 0 to 100 in everything that I play. So I then get into watching streams, and then from that, I decide to stream, and that's kind of what happened when I very, very first started playing. And I got into the Envoy server back in those days. So a few of them are still around now. I don't even think Dorky was in there at the time, is kind of how far back this goes. And then when I left on kind of as good a terms as I guess you can do. I had my walkout messages, I guess, and they had the same. But it was always very much doors open. If you want to come back,
Mm-hmm.
if you're posting content, you can come back. Now, I thought it was very tongue in cheek, so I thought I'd be cheeky when I came back, and as I say, Laurie kept her word, and there I was put back in. So yeah, it was a bit of a surprise. I had a few messages being like, "Who the hell are you?"
You decided to come back to Marvel Strike Force. What were the characters releasing when you came back to Marvel Strike Force, so people remember kind of can reference where you stepped back in? Because you don't have a lot of the
No.
the apocalypse characters or some of the legendaries and stuff, right?
I've got all the legendary. So I quit the last unlockable character when I quit was Rogue. So her Scourge had just finished for the very first time that was in the game. So I got Rogue, and when I came back, it was the Goblin Classic Scourge had just started. I think I was the week before that just came out. So in and around that time. So everything in that 18-month window I missed
I
and had to
see.
try and capture back up. So I got him, got the Black Cat trials that were done following those, and then just kind of just been moving through ever since.
I see. Do you find it troublesome to catch back up after leaving, or is it has it been detrimental to your play? Like, because you're in a very early arena shard, I assume, right?
Yeah, I'm in an early one. I mean, I've been able to push to I'm about top 180, 200 each day now. I'd fallen to top 500. I was top 10. I was in the old school collusion Discord servers that were had where you'd rotate strike of who gets what power cores back in the day.
Hmm.
But yeah, so I came back around. I'm hovering around the 200. I can beat some teams, but as I say, I don't have not having APOC, not having Archangel, not having Secret Defenders built and stuff like that is really proving difficult to push some of those teams. Which, if there's a frustration I have with Strike Force, and I don't want it to be a negative Nancy interview, it is about APOC, it is about Scourges, it is about as a returning player having no idea how and when and where I'm going to be able to access those characters. Yeah,
Um,
no, absolutely. And I talk about it on stream quite a lot as well, to be fair, about how I've never really experienced a game where there's a major part of it where the answer is kind of I just shrug my shoulders and it'll be there when it's there. I've
yeah.
never experienced that before. There's always been a clear roadmap or a clear understanding of what's going to go on, right?
Hmm.
The Dark Dimension 7 that's not out yet has a clearer roadmap than
Right.
characters that have been in the game for nigh on 2 years, and that's kind of where I'm at with it, and that's a bit of frustration I have, but we are where we are.
Right. I think Scopely's got some trouble getting their game stabilized right now too. So it's kind of I assume it's a back burner project for them. But being in the Envoy server, are you going to push that they work on that problem? Like, what's the biggest thing you want them to work on in Marvel Strike Force right now?
I have been messaging Laurie, and my last message to Laurie said, and I quote, "My hands are out like Oliver Twist. I want more, please." And the answer I keep getting is, "I have no answer to give."
Yeah.
I hope that's not NDA. If it is, soz. But I think that's not just for me. I think that's a lot of people. I think that's a lot of people that would download the game, and I think it would turn a lot of people off. I really do. If it is a core mechanic of the game that I'm having to build Gamma, for example, that maybe don't have that much shelf life left in them, and I'm building them in case they bring, they keep APOC unlockable in the way that he is now.
Right.
So that's the thing. So that's probably the biggest thing I think. But on the flip side of that, there's some changes to the game that I absolutely love from when I quit. So I don't know if this is a question that you had later, but we talk about it on my stream quite a lot. What's changed? What's different? Things like the changes to war are massive. That was one of the reasons I had burnout when I originally or left the second time. It was COVID had just ended. We were going back to the office. I was in I was in a war alliance that wasn't really great zone for me. It started at 2 p.m. when I was at work.
Hmm.
I had to either decide to go for a long poo or not war.
Right.
And that was a bit of a problem at the time. Now it's far better. So I will give them credit where it's due. I think those quality of life changes that maybe go under the radar a little bit are really important. Jarvis as well. We did it on my stream today. I had my Loki still set as healer from back in the day. So I think those little things that maybe we don't give them credit for as much as need to be given, I like. So I will hit them with one hand and take with the other, I guess. But there's definitely some good changes.
If you had your way, what would you like them to do to fix that?
I've told Laurie that if it was me, I would do for the next 4 months, every month, the scourges will become permanent. So
Hmm.
physically unlocking the horseman doesn't change. It's just you give me Morgan Le Fay scourge permanently, and then you get to a certain number of points, or you clear a difficulty, and that unlocks the character. is kind of where I think would work the best. You then do that over 4 months. I've still got to wait for 4 months, but I can see a trajectory and I can see an unlock method and I can see a journey, which I think will be the main thing. And then you can keep the APOC unlock method. But yeah, I think it's one of those that can't think of how else they're really going to do it without breaking everything
Blitz
up that
for
we know
APOC, maybe?
currently. True.
No, no,
Yeah.
no, please don't do that. I want to know about you. I'm guessing from the accent that you don't live next door to me. So,
I don't.
so
I'm over the pond. I'm in
yeah,
the
over the pond, as
UK.
they say.
Yeah, in the UK. So I'm about 2.5 hours northeast of London. So I won't give my town away because it's a small town. But if
Hmm.
people are looking on Google, we're broken out into counties, whereas you guys have got states and stuff like that over there. So I'm in the county called East Anglia. So it's the kind of most easterly county in the UK. So I'm a little bit north of London, but it does mean that we are a little bit in the sticks.
Hmm.
So our internet, our commuting links, our roads are absolutely trash compared to pretty much everywhere else in the roads in the world. Sorry. So yeah, it's an interesting place to be. I'll tell you.
And who do you stream to primarily? Because I remember when I was streaming early in the morning, I'd get a lot of people from across the pond that would come to my streams because it was more of a prime time over there or whatnot. Do you find yourself streaming to a lot of Americans, or what's the mix?
Yeah, I would say if I think about the sub ratio, it's pretty heavily UK EU. I try and move my streams around a little bit, so my weekend streams will start EU friendly, probably not so friendly, certainly if you're the kind of west coast of the States, but my evening streams kind of cross over. So me and you tend to normally cross over a little bit. So I have a decent amount of American mix from there, but it is more centrally around EU, UK people.
You say you've got a partner.
I don't have a partner at the moment. So it was at the time. So when I
Oh, at the
got
time, I
into the
see.
game, yeah. When I got into the game, so no,
Got
I
plenty
am
of free time
single.
then. Okay,
Yeah,
all
yeah, yeah.
right, yeah,
That
that
might be
helps.
why I'm streaming.
Yeah, get rid of those significant others, man. They take up way too much time. You've got blitz rotations to do. You can't have that going on.
Absolutely.
So that clears it up. And then you work part time, full time over there. And then how busy is your streaming schedule? Is your content creation? Is it taking up a lot of your time?
Not really. So when I've come back, I've kind of said if I'm feeling it and if it works, I'll do it. So at the moment, I'm streaming. I'd say probably five days is almost a guarantee, but 5 or 6 days. But I don't have a schedule on time. So I know if anyone is thinking about getting into streaming, it's the worst thing you can do to not have a schedule.
Mm-hmm.
One of the
Yeah.
first things people tell you is have a schedule. So I know from a growth perspective, it's not the ideal. But for me, it works a lot better. I used to have a schedule when I streamed before, and I found for me that put extra pressure on that I didn't really want to have or need to have. So now it's just a case of I'll just jump on my Discord, say I'll be on in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I operate. So we tend to do kind of double streams on a Saturday. So we tend to do the normal stream in the morning, and then in the evening it turns into the not breaking of Twitch TOS stream at the back end of the day. So we're trying different things, different times, but so not really fantastically busy. I've not done much on YouTube since I've come back. It's something that I'm getting into now, so I would expect that to take up a bit more time with the editing and stuff involved.
Yeah. You say trying different things and YouTube. Are you going to be covering other games, or are you going to stick with Marvel Strike Force? Where do you see yourself in 6 months from now?
Probably still Strike Force, to be fair. As I say, I go 0 to 100
Hmm.
in the games I'm playing. So I think if I was doing another one, I think the lines would get blurred. I have an addictive personality, which is probably why I play these games, to be fair. And I would like to do like gambling streams, but I feel like they would be very expensive and I would have a problem. So I'm putting that off at the moment. But if you were asking me if there's anything else I'd want to stream, it's probably that because I'm quite an angry gamer. So things like Fortnite and things like that probably wouldn't make for a great stream.
So it says here you are sleepwalking naked around a holiday camp. I'm very curious about sleepwalking stories. I do that a little bit myself, and I want to hear this story in full. What's this all about?
Luckily, I seem to have grown out of it as I've got older. But when I was younger, it was as soon as I wasn't at home, it would happen. There was a case of where my family at the time not at the time, they're still my family now, but my family were with me at the time. And I was, when they woke up, I had a leg over the balcony trying to jump off the balcony. So there was some pretty weird ones like that. But the story about the campsite, which I haven't actually spoken to my stream about, to be fair, but I would have been about 11 or 12. I don't know why I was naked. That is probably the first part of it. But I woke up and I thought we were getting burgled in the like little holiday camp room that we were in. So it was like I don't know, like a little chalet bungalow type thing that the family were in. So I left the room, walking around the campsite, and I can't remember all of it. All I can remember was going to my auntie and uncle's uh, place, which happened to be next door, but I couldn't put two and two together when I was asleep. And I didn't think anything had really happened. I didn't think anything of it. I obviously knew I'd gone out naked, which wasn't great. And it was only when the next day my dad came home and said, I've just been to the fish and chip shop. And he goes, these people were talking about you. And I was like, what do you mean they were talking about me? And they're like, you jumped on them thinking they were like us. And he went, and you're this naked 11-year-old in the middle of a holiday camp jumping on these random strangers. So it's not my shining light of my life, to be fair. And I'm glad I was probably younger. If I was a bit older, I probably would have been escorted off the premises. But yeah, that's, I don't know why I used to do it. And luckily, as I say, I've grown out of it now. But there's a few stories like that, if I'm being honest.
And you say you were nearly killed on a roller coaster. What's this one about?
That was in Florida, to be fair, and even to this day, I do wonder whether I should have complained and got something out of it in the where there's a blame, there's a claim world that we live in.
Right.
Have you been to Disney in Florida?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's the rocket ride at Universal,
Okay.
and for those that don't know, it's a I guess a travelator. The ride doesn't stop, and then you do a 90-degree incline at the beginning, and that's how the ride starts. And I'd sat down. And I always have this weird ritual where I check all of my bars before I go. Don't know why. Never had a problem.
Safety
always
first.
done it. Yeah, and I've always, as I say, always done it. And we were 6 feet from the start, and obviously Rocket is quite high off the floor. And as I pulled my bar, they all came open. Everything. I wasn't latched in. I wasn't tied in. I wasn't thingied in, and I had 4 or 5 feet left to go before the ride started. So I managed to jump off the ride, and the attendants came over. And I think what annoyed me the most is they said, "What are you doing?" And I don't know if that was a natural reaction or whatever. But I won't swear because this is obviously going on your channel. But I wasn't happy, I guess is the first bloody word that I can use for him. And what we found out when they investigated is the young lad that was the ride operative had leant up against the bar, and in his pocket was the emergency override for the seats. So my seat and the guy behind me, his also came up at the same time. And as I say, we were 4 or 5 feet from the start of the ride going up. So it wasn't an ideal situation, but it was one of those where adrenaline kicked in, and I got back on it and I rode the ride. But ever since then, I can't do it. I can queue for it, but I can't go back on it. Ever since that moment, but that was probably one of the scariest things that's ever happened because you see it in films,
right? Yeah.
But yeah, that was not a fun day.
So are you an angry streamer? Do you get upset on stream? Do you have blow-ups or anything?
I wouldn't say I get angry. I do have blow-ups. When things don't go very well. So an example will be when we did the new incursion campaigns and someone at Scopely has decided node 6.2 with Merc snipers was a good idea. So that node done me in. So I did blow up about that node. Or in this new event where they've decided to put a 365k Green Goblin Classic on a node, and you just get those type of things really annoy me, and I do get angry about it. But I'm far more angry playing first-person shooters. To be fair,
Really?
I can control in this.
So you don't like to stream first-person shooters then because you flip out, or no?
No. I say things that I shouldn't say, and it's just one of those that from a kind of content viewer engagement, I try and have a space where everything is open. You can have a chat, you can do all that
Hmm.
type of thing. And I think first person shooters, for me, I wouldn't be paying attention to the chat, and that
Right.
takes it away. So it's kind of a bit of both, really.
Yeah. See, I just ignore chat altogether when I want to play video games, and they harass me to know. Like right now, they're probably saying mean things about me. I just let it go by. How do you keep your cool on those days when? Well, I guess you don't have a set schedule, so if you're not feeling it, you just don't have to stream, do you?
Yeah, no, agreed. And I think that's the kind of the joy I've got at the moment. If it's patch day, for example, and everybody is streaming, I
Hmm.
just won't stream. That's kind of where I'm at with it. I won't stream. It's one of those things that, again, there are people in the way I've always looked at it. There are people that this is their living, so that's fine. They can, they have the right to do what they do. So I just get on when it works for me.
Hmm.
And if I want to get off quickly, then that's absolutely fine. I think we had this Saturday, for example. Bendy, bless him, was trying to go to sleep, and there was nobody streaming. So I was going out for lunch with my family, and I just jumped on for kind of 45, 50 minutes to kind of keep it going a little bit until the next person was on before I went out. So I guess I don't have stress or anything, probably like yourself and some others do
Right.
around that.
Yeah. Well, I like that. You're kind of looking out for the community. I know a lot of us, we kind of enjoy when we can go, we can raid someone and like leave our computer running and the next day come back and it's on an MSF stream still. I think that's really cool when that happens. So, when you're seeing a gap in the line there and you jump in to fill that in, that's actually really cool. You have in here that you have an affinity for dementia charities. What's that all about? Why is dementia
So
important to
yeah,
you?
so both my grandparents. So the my granddad that's dead, I never met, and then my nan that's dead died a lot of years ago. But the two that are with us at the moment, both of them have got it. So my nan has just got it due to old age, but my granddad, he was a heavy drinker years ago. He moved out to Spain. He was a heavy drinker. He went cold turkey because we told him to, because he was turning into a nasty bit of work by all intents and purposes. He then, unfortunately, because he went cold turkey, he had a double stroke, hit his head, and that then caused his brain and everything to change. And then he's got kind of Alzheimer's rather than dementia, but my nan has then got dementia, and she's in the earlier stages, but it's progressing pretty quickly. And I think it's one of those diseases where, because it's not, you can't cure it, you can
Mhm.
only slow it down.
Right.
It's one of those, I don't think it necessarily gets the love that it needs to get, I think, and have necessarily the presence that it needs to have. I think there's a stat out there that it may either have overtaken cancers or be closing in on cancers for the biggest killer of the elderly, right? So
Mhm.
for me, it's that sense of like, when you can see what it does to these people. And like both of my kind of grandparents were very intellectual, very smart. My granddad owned a number of businesses, so it definitely wasn't, laziness and then it catching up with him. It's one of those moments. So I try and help out where I can with these, and the homes, because they're both in care homes in the UK now. I try and support those with what they're doing as well. So even if I'm not directly donating to a charity, I'm trying to give it to the people that are doing work around me.
Mhm.
I think that's the right thing to do.
Absolutely. Do you think that you're ever going to do some charity streams in the future?
Potentially. When I used to stream back in the day, I thought about it, but I think it's one of those that I don't know. It's an odd one, right? Because I think with a charity stream, you can sometimes profit without meaning to profit yourself. So you could
Right.
get a big influx of viewers that stay with you. And I think the idea of charity is to kind of give there. So I try and give privately and just do it my way, and do it that way. But nothing is off the table with charity
Mhm.
streams. I think sometimes, though, it's if something goes wrong, or you get sick, or you say the wrong thing, or I wouldn't want to do a charity stream and I'm kicking off about stuff, for example. But so I tend to do a lot of it privately. But it's certainly not off the cards, and it's certainly something that I'd probably join somebody else if they were streaming for that.
I think somebody like yourself, you come off as an incredibly genuine and generous person. I think you should really look into it. And if this is something important to you, I'd definitely be willing to help you out with something like that as well. Is there anything else that you really want to get out? Anything just burning on, you got to get off your chest. You got to tell the viewers that you think they need to know about you. Any important facts in your life that they just have to know?
Oh, that is an on the spot question. That
I'm
one, isn't it?
opening it up to you right now. Just let them know, who is 3088 Gaming.
Okay, I guess I'll do a little bit of a rundown then. I assume so. Most people know me as Shane. I think there's I don't know if it's an internet thing or it's a doxing thing, but people always are a bit worried about should I call you by your real name or should I call you by your
Mm-hmm.
online alias? And I think I don't necessarily know why, but yeah. So I'm Shane, obviously from the UK. I like to tell people I'm in my late 20s because I'm 35. So if anyone asks, I'm in my late 20s, but I've been doing content on and off, and as I say, I like to be dramatic, so I do like to quit. And I've been doing it for years and years. So I've been doing this since 2012. Is when I originally started, and I originally started doing content for FIFA back in the day. So we needed this is you may know Run from back in those days. We used to have to get an HD PVR, so it
Mm-hmm.
was before even Elgato was created. We used to have to sync that to our computer and our Xbox, and that would then be the recording. And I remember streaming back then. There were no subs, there were no bits, there was no money. It was just people would watch you,
Mm-hmm.
and the viewership back then would make me cry if I had that now because it was like 1,000 concurrent back then because it just wasn't as big as it is now. There wasn't that many streamers. And yeah, I was quite big back then. I think a claim to fame that people like to ask me on my stream is who do you know? I guess one of those questions of like who's in your address book. And I guess in my claim to fame, I assume would be on my YouTube channel as a video with me and KSI
Oh yeah.
from back in the day. So we had 20k subs at the time when me and him did the video together. Obviously, he didn't quit. I did quit, and he's now a multi millionaire. And I'm sat here in an elf outfit. So we've gone very different routes. But yeah, that's kind of I guess where I am. I've always worked whilst doing this.
Mm-hmm.
I've always kind of been in and out of kind of office jobs. It's where I prefer. I don't work with my hands. I don't work outside. I could never do kind of what Bendy does, those type of jobs. So I've always been the office guy doing this on the side. But family have always been really supportive of it as well. I know it was questions that you had. So my back when I got my HD PVR, my parents looked over the contract because back then, again, I might be preaching to the choir with you, but back in those days, you couldn't be paid directly from YouTube if you were doing gaming because you would have been copyright striked by the game developers back then.
Mm-hmm.
So we couldn't even use the music in GTA, for example, because you'd be copyrighted for it. So you had to be signed with an MCN, and I was signed with Machinima, which at the time were the biggest. And they were paying a monstrous $2 per 1,000 views. That was a non-negotiable. You didn't get any more, and you didn't get anything from mobile views. So of those 1,000 views, 45 or 50% you didn't get because they were on phones.
Mm-hmm.
So you were pretty much getting a dollar 1,000 views back in those days. But yeah, my parents went through the contract and they made sure everything was okay. And they really just kind of supported me in the background. They didn't get it, but they were really kind of good with me. And when EA, I was down in London for a gaming event. It was the event before, I guess, E3 as it's known now. And I was on the EA stage while they were playing in their kind of cup and stuff. My parents drove me down there, and yeah, they've always been really good supporters of this. And as I say, my ex-partner, who's still a part of my community now, she was always really supportive of it as well, and even used to do some streams for me back in the day. If I was, it annoys me because she actually got more in donations. We do joke about that quite a lot. That she got a decent donation when she was streaming for me. So I got the text when I was out with my friends drinking from
Mm-hmm.
her, just with a smiley face in the picture. But yeah, I don't know about where you are. And I know obviously your partner is close with you in your streams as well, and I think that really helps. I think there's still a stigma around it.
Right. Yeah.
And I know when I speak to my team at work, so I'm in middle management and I've been in middle management for years. There are still people that look at you like something's broken. This will be the hot take, I think, but people that have watched my stream for a long time will know. I'm not a massive fan of Marvel.
Oh yeah.
I play these games because I really enjoy what they are, how they are and how they play. So there was a lot of people that are like, I must see this character, and this character is everything to me. And
I see.
whereas for me, I'm playing it as I get them, I know them all, and that
Hmm.
side of it, but I'm not a hardcore die-hard fan of those. Similarly with Lord of the Rings, one of the reasons that I came back to this game, which I'm probably jumping ahead a little bit, was I played Lord of the Rings Home. I had the misfortune of playing that game.
Hmm. Yeah, we
And
all stumbled
similarly
on
to
that
that,
one.
we stumbled on it. It has the makings of a really good game. It
Hmm.
really does. And their raids, I think, put Strike Forces to shame. I just think they're overtuned a bit too much, and the RNG takes away from it. But similarly with Marvel, I do really enjoy Lord of the Rings. I've seen all the films.
Hmm.
I know all the characters, but I didn't play it just because it was Lord of the Rings. I played it because it was the type of game that I really enjoy, which is similar to here, which is why my stream has probably got a similar style to yours. And I think that's why I gravitated to you like I did when I came back. Your stream tell you off for making mistakes, and you need their support for certain things, and they tell you what you've done wrong. And mine's very similar as well, to how I've kind of built my audience and what I do with my audience. So yeah, I think that's something that you do really well, is kind of owning the mistakes.
Right. Well, I make them too often, so I can't really hide from it, you know? Well, so then, I was going to ask you, what's your favorite Marvel character and who do you want to see come to the game and everything? But it sounds like that's not as important to you as maybe the upcoming game modes. Which one excites you more, the Tower of Kiln or the attack on the world boss one? Which of those game modes are you looking forward to?
I would say World Boss. I do
Mm-hmm.
like World Boss type modes. I think there's probably more that they could do with the World Boss mode in the future than the Kiln game mode. I think the Kill game mode is going to be very good, right? I
Right.
came back when I came back. Sword had just started, so that's actually for a timeline for the people watching. I started the week before I think Sword came out
Oh, okay.
this most recent time. Um, so I think that will be a good mode, and I think that will probably go down better with the community. But I think a world boss just has the makings of so much extra content that we can do, and things like that. So as long as it's done in the right way, with a lot of thought and effort, and delayed to a point that it comes out refined,
Mm-hmm.
then I'm looking forward to it big time. And I think that's going to add another element and probably bring back quite a lot of players. Because I think at the moment there's a level of monotony that people maybe don't like as much as me with a lot of the game modes. If you're not a fan of Scourges, which I do think they are a far better way of unlocking legendaries. Again, maybe a hot take, but I wouldn't have got Black Cat and I wouldn't have got Classic Goblin with my roster if they were the old method.
Right.
So I think they're definitely trying, and I think these world boss game modes have the makings of being really good. I just hope they execute it.
Thank you for coming on, sharing with us who you are, what you are doing. I can't believe that, like, when you first showed up, I had no idea who you were. Thought you were this total noob and everything. Come to find out, you're an OG streamer. Like, you've been in the dregs back in the day. So that's really cool to find out. Thank you for
No,
coming
I
by and
appreciate
talking
you
with us.
reaching
Appreciate
out.
it.
I do appreciate you reaching out and talk. It's one of those things, as you say. There's a lot of people who would just sit quietly and go, "Who is this guy?" and just leave it at that. But you
Hmm.
actually took the time to message me, and you asked for my links, and you asked me those questions. So, I wouldn't just do this for anybody. It's one of those things that I think having personal questions like that, it's not for everybody. But I think
Hmm.
for you, yeah, what you do, mate, is really good, and
Well,
I
thank you.
can't thank you enough for doing this. And I hope that your numbers and your views and your channel continues to grow, because I think you're on a good trajectory, and I think you're doing something different. And I think what you provide is far more engaging content, and I hope that gets highlighted, and you really kick on and grow, because I think you're doing a good thing here.
Well, thank you. I think there's a lot of great content creators out there, and I like to work with as many of them as possible. So I contacted you. I thought you had something special going on. It's Shane from 3088 Gaming. He's an OG streamer like you've never heard of before. He's back to Marvel Strike Force, everybody, and his links are in the description below. Thanks again, Shane. Appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, mate.